Hello guys, we are now in beautiful Lisbon during Solana conference, and we met here with Joe McCann, who is AI and cloud M&A strategist at Microsoft, and as well he is angel investor. Nice to meet you here, Joe.
Yeah, nice to meet you. Thanks for having me.
So can you tell us about your background? How did you get into crypto industry?
Yeah, so I've been a traditional trader for 21 years. And I've also been a software developer for 21 years. And so I read the Bitcoin white paper in 2011, and it made a lot of sense to me on the technology side, but there wasn't a market to actually trade it. So I kind of didn't really pay attention to it for too much longer until about 2016, 2017, when there was a lot more happening on the market making side of crypto, and started to get really active in trading it in 2017. And after 2017, after the bull market run, I ended up working at an institutional hedge fund in San Francisco for running a quant trading desk for trading cryptocurrencies. So I did that from 2018 to 2019, and ultimately left to continue to trade my own personal book. And I've been doing that ever since. So angel investing in a lot of companies, and then also actively trading in the space.
And you discovered Bitcoin quite early, 2011. How did you know about it? Did you discover on the internet, or did somebody tell about it?
Yeah, I just discovered it on the internet through some chat group somewhere. Someone had mentioned the white paper. The white paper is very short, so you could read it very quickly. And I had a feeling that it was a pretty strong technological improvement. I didn't know it would be as big as it is. But it was very clear to me early on that there was something unique about the concept of a blockchain, and Bitcoin was the first one. And so I've been following it ever since. I'm still a big Bitcoin holder and believer, but like I said, I just didn't get active in trading crypto until many years later.
And which year did you buy your first Bitcoin?
First year that I bought my Bitcoin was probably 2016. Yeah.
Did you sell or you hold mostly?
Well, I mean, as a trader, I'm constantly buying and selling, right? So what I ultimately end up trying to do is I have a Bitcoin accumulation strategy where instead of trying to earn additional US dollars, the goal of the trading strategy is to accumulate more Bitcoin. So I have a benchmark that is in Bitcoin. So if, let's say if you have 100 Bitcoin and your goal is to make 200 more Bitcoin, it doesn't matter what the dollar amount is. So have I bought and sold Bitcoin? Yeah, I've done that today, right? So I do it all the time, and that's one of the benefits of being a trader, is especially if you know how to trade these types of markets, which are extremely volatile, is that you can actually accumulate more than just buying and holding. I don't recommend everybody trades. It's not for everybody, so buying and holding is a great strategy. But nowadays, especially with the new types of contracts that are available on the exchanges, you can hedge your risk of just being long only versus many years ago where you didn't, and you saw these crazy crashes. And I just don't think we're going to see 80-90% drawdowns like we did over the past few bull cycles.
And do you trade manually, or do you use any AI algorithmic tools for that?
Yes, both. So when I was a trader on Wall Street, I worked on a trading desk, and they taught us what's called tape reading, which is basically pattern recognition. And you're evaluating the order flow as it comes in, and so you're trading against that order flow. But in addition to that, I've been writing algorithms and systematic trading strategies for over a decade, and so I still have a lot of that actually running. Kind of just, I don't even manage it; it just keeps running because that's the whole point of the software, right? But it's more fun to trade. So I don't play video games; I trade crypto. It's way more fun.
Did you trade stocks before, just for yourself, not for the fund?
That is correct. Yes.
And now you're completely into crypto?
I mean, I have some exposure to stocks and other forms of what I would call traditional assets, but the majority of my net worth is in crypto.
And can you tell us, how did you get into angel investing, and what was the first startup where you invested into?
Yeah, so I was a founder and CEO of a company called NodeSource that we started back in 2013, and I bootstrapped that company and then raised about a little over $40 million in venture capital for that business, ran it for 5 years, and then ended up transitioning out of the CEO role into chairman and took some time off. A year later, we sold the company. And so why I've gotten into angel investing is one, I've been in the shoes of a founder. I can understand their position. Two, I can actually advise them, whereas most venture capitalists, frankly, are just dumb money. meaning they have lots of money, they have no experience building an actual business. And so one of the things that I like to do with the companies that I invest in is that if I can actually add value to them in terms of their product roadmap, their go-to-market strategy, how they actually go out and fundraise in the venture capital industry, how do they think about hiring, what about valuation terms, all these things that basically nobody teaches you, I can actually provide that through my own lived experience. And so angel investing has been a passion of mine for the past about 4 years, and in crypto it's just dramatically accelerated over the past 9 months.
And what areas do you focus on?
Well, primarily, I cover the spectrum of crypto, or what I would call Web3. So obviously I'm very interested in a lot of stuff that's at the protocol level, so DeFi strategies or lending protocols, or recently invested in a company called Neon Labs, which is bringing EVM compatibility onto Solana. So it's a very technical project, but if it works, which it does, it could be huge for not only Solana, but also for the Ethereum ecosystem. In addition to that, I've been very early into the NFT space, specifically on Solana. So I back a lot of companies that are building analytics and portfolio management tools around NFTs. So you've got kind of DeFi protocols, you've got NFTs, and then I also invest in what are called infrastructure companies. So I invested in a company called Syndica that's creating, infrastructure. They provide infrastructure for developers to build Web3 applications.
Cool. And why are you so bullish on Solana?
Why not? I mean, so look, I think the thing about Solana specifically is that if you've ever built web scale, large internet scale applications, the thing that matters most is user adoption. And up until Solana, when I read the white paper and then actually started to really dig on the tech side in 2020, what I didn't see in other chains was the ability for millions of users to actually interact with the chain on a regular basis. Am I a fan of Ethereum? Yes, of course. I have a huge Ethereum position as well. I think it's an incredible technology, huge leap in computer science, but they don't have, it's not set up to be used in the same way that you would go to like reddit.com and you're constantly commenting and doing these types of things, because it would just be too expensive and too slow. They could potentially fix that in the future, but that's in the future. So right now, Solana is actually, in my opinion, the only chain and network that optimizes for network capacity and speed and ease of use. What that means is that product developers who want to build applications on chain are going to use something that users can actually use, right? So if you go use MetaMask, for example, it's a challenging experience, right? There's a lot of steps. You could lose your money. You don't know what a gas fee is, and the gas fee could constantly be changing, and then it takes 15 seconds to 10 minutes for it to actually confirm, or maybe it doesn't confirm at all. The rest of the non-crypto world will never use a product like that, not at scale. And so if you use MetaMask and you go to something like Phantom, which is the wallet that I recommend using for Solana, it's instantaneous and it's super easy to use. So the question is if users are actually the appropriate metric for which chain to kind of invest in, how many users can Ethereum, Polkadot, any of these other chains actually support versus Solana? And Solana can actually support, theoretically, tens of millions of users.
Yeah, and do you think that Solana may overcome Ethereum?
In terms of market cap?
Yeah.
Yes.
In what timeline?
Well, so I don't predict the future. I just try to actually, be smart about where I'm placing the investments. If, again, it's a very simple concept in my view, is that if you're targeting users, how many users are actually using applications on the particular chain, Solana has a better shot at doing that than Ethereum, in my view, right? And I know a lot of people will disagree with me on this. But if, for example, more and more people are using Solana, that means they need the SOL token, which means there's only so much supply of the SOL token that they actually have to go buy, which bids the price up. So the point that I'm making is that if more and more users actually come to crypto through Solana, then the price of Solana inherently has to rise, which in theory at some point in the future could flip the market cap of Ethereum, which I think is what will ultimately happen.
And you mentioned as well that you got into NFTs in the beginning, so how did you discover NFTs, and what about NFTs did you like?
Yeah, so I didn't, I remember in, I think it was 2017 when CryptoKitties came out. I thought it was kind of like a cute art project. But the thing about CryptoKitties is that you can keep making more and more and more of them. So there wasn't this kind of inherent scarcity with the NFTs themselves. So I didn't actually really get into Ethereum NFTs. Bad for me, because I didn't get a CryptoPunk or any of that. However, these types of cultural kind of paradigm shifts aren't just specific to one particular chain. It started on Ethereum first, but what I recognized early on in Solana, for example, is that we're going to have the same sort of pattern play out, right? So what I mean is, on Solana, when NFTs actually start launching, there's going to be a huge rush of interest of people to get behind these NFTs because they missed it on Ethereum. And I was one of those people, right? I missed it on Ethereum. So I was very early on, early into Solana monkeys. I have a lot of them. I have DGen apes, thug birds, basically all the blue chip NFTs on Solana. I got into them because my hypothesis was, if NFTs on Solana is going to be kind of a cultural moment for Solana in general, I want to be participating in this, whether I even like the art or not. Turns out I actually like the art of all of it. It's really cool. And so B, if I can get in early enough and actually mint most of these, then I kind of have at like the root level the most kind of beginning or introduction to NFTs on Solana. So that's one of the reasons I did it. The kind of innovation that's happening around NFTs, with like some of them are now generating yield, and you can kind of combine them and do all this interesting stuff. That's really fascinating on the like innovation side. What I think is more important is that if you look at retailers and brands and musicians and artists and athletes, if they're going to try to reach their fan base or their customers more frequently, they're not going to be able to do it on something like Ethereum, where it costs $300 to mint a single NFT. They're going to do it on Solana, where it costs a fraction of a penny. So for example, if Coca-Cola wants to do an NFT airdrop to 100 million of their customers, are they going to do that on Ethereum? It would probably cost $3 billion to do that,
They
right?
may use Polygon.
They could theoretically use Polygon, right? But it's still more expensive than something like Solana, right? And so I think that's what my point is that I'm not trying to pin Solana against Ethereum, but the reason I'm most interested in Solana NFT use case is that it's already so cheap and fast to be able to do this type of stuff, and it's less complicated than doing it on a thing like an L2 like Polygon or an L1 like Ethereum.
And what are the biggest NFTs in your possessions?
So I own quite a bit of the Solana monkeys, so the SMBs. There's only 5,000 of them, and I have a pretty large supply of those. I'll just say
Cool.
that.
And so do you consider yourself more collector, holder, or do you speculate a bit with NFTs?
So it's a little bit of both. I mean, on the one hand, I like the cultural aspect of what NFTs do and provide. On the other hand, the art market has been a great asset to invest in over the past decade, period, let alone NFT, just the traditional art market, probably for longer than, the past 10 years. So on the one hand, I do like a lot of the art. I have, a lot of my NFTs in my office or in a digital frame, so I have it framed up on my wall, and they're kind of rotating through each one of the NFTs, so that's kind of cool. But ultimately, these things are collateralizable assets. So if you have an NFT, let's say it's worth $50,000, eventually you're going to be able to take that NFT and park it into, say, a collateralized lending protocol and borrow against it, right? So today, you could go to something like Jet Protocol and deposit your Solana and borrow, say, USDC against it and just pay some interest rate, just like a loan, right? You're going to be able to do the same thing with NFTs. And so eventually with NFTs, be able to use that as collateral to borrow against it, in effect means the NFT has much more utility and value associated with it than just whatever the market is going to pay for it, because you can actually utilize it for other purposes.
Yeah, I agree with you. And what are your thoughts on different regulations in different countries? How do you see the situation in US and in Europe or Asia?
Can't really speak intelligently on the policies in Asia and Europe, but in the United States, where I'm from, the one thing I can say is that there is a growing constituency within the United States that's pro-crypto. And so the SEC, the Securities Exchange Commission, the SEC, and frankly, folks in the government agencies have a really tough position that they're in, where if they are anti-crypto, then the people that vote for them are in disagreement with them. And so if the people that vote for you don't agree with you on something like crypto, then they're not going to vote for you again. So the politicians are in a position where they actually have to have some form of pro-crypto policy so that their constituents, the people that vote for them, continue to vote for them. Will we see, the SEC probably do some sort of heavy-handed regulatory smackdown? Yes. Can it actually be implemented? Probably not. And so what I mean by that is, if the SEC says something along the lines of, stable coins are illegal, well, how are they actually going to implement that? I mean, there's stable coins all around the world today, and they're being utilized by US companies, right? So are they just going to say, hey, shut down all of those decentralized nodes that are trading stable coins? There's actually no way they actually do that. So I think once they probably have recognized the fact that there is no way to really shut this down. Instead, what they should do, in my view, is embracing it, but putting in sort of the consumer protection and consumer protection rules around it, so that people feel more comfortable using crypto, as opposed to basically telling people that they can't use it or it's going to be illegal, because that will never work.
And what are your thoughts on blockchain gaming? Did you invest into any blockchain gaming companies?
I have. I did not do Axie Infinity, unfortunately, but Axie is great because they're kind of the canonical example of how to do. They invented play to earn, right? And I think there's a ton of new games that are going to be coming out that do play to earn. There are a bunch of projects that I've invested in on Solana that haven't launched yet, that are running in stealth right now. I think that the play to earn category will be bigger than all of the other categories combined. It's that big of a shift in video games. The question is, in my view, is how does somebody build a truly long-lasting game title that's like Call of Duty or Grand Theft Auto, these kind of stalwarts for video games? How do you do that with incorporating NFTs and blockchain? And so I think you'll see probably a lot of projects try a lot of interesting things. Most of them will probably fail, but the ones that actually create something that's new and immersive and innovative will be hugely valuable over the long term, just like Axie Infinity.
And what are the key factors you're looking for while deciding whether to invest or not into this or that startup?
Yeah, so I think one of the first things I try to do is evaluate the technical competency of the team. So if the founders, for example, are not technical, it's very hard for me to get comfortable investing in a technical product when you don't have technical founders. That being said, it doesn't mean that if you're a non-technical founder that I wouldn't necessarily invest in your company. It just means that you now have to identify a gap that you have in your organization that you need to fill immediately after raising money. Say, hire a CTO or something along those lines. So that's first. What's the technical competency? The second is, how well does someone actually know how to ship a product? There are a lot of really good ideas out there right now, particularly in the kind of the Web3 space, with very few, I would say, competent product people, because they're so new to this, right? This may be the first company or project that they've ever done, and they haven't actually ever shipped a product. And then the third aspect is, is there something very that is in alignment with the theme that I have, right? So whether it's Web3 infrastructure, NFTs, DeFi protocols, bridging, interoperability protocols, these types of things, if it fits into one of those themes and these other two aspects are kind of checked out, then great. Because I'm a former founder and a software developer, I have a different approach to investing in entrepreneurs and the companies and projects that they're building than traditional venture capitalists. I don't look to see who else is investing in the round. I don't look to, kind of like where they went to college. None of that stuff matters to me. What really matters to me is, does this person have what it takes to have the technical and product competency to ship a quality product and then hopefully identify product market fit. And if they can do that in one of the themes that I'm investing in, then they have a very good chance for me to actually invest in the company.
And do you co-invest with any other angel investors or funds?
So I only invest my own money, but what I will say is that I work very closely with pretty much anybody that you have seen do a Solana-related deal. I work very closely with pretty much all of them.
And what are your usual check sizes?
That's confidential.
Okay. Maybe I would like to suggest you a startup. I might tell you about some startups.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Well, I know Kiev has actually some of the, there's Everstake. You guys familiar with Everstake?
Yes.
Yeah, so they have some of the most talented engineers in the ecosystem. They're all at Everstake, they're all in Kiev.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
a lot of talented developers in Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
And can you tell us about your altcoin picks? What should we watch out on the market besides Solana, of course?
So look, I could just list off a bunch of altcoin names, but the reason I don't recommend doing that is everybody's appetite for risk is very different, and everybody's bank account balance is very different for what they're willing to invest in crypto. So what I tend to do is I try to look at, say, I look at Solana and then look at the ecosystem around Solana. And if there are a number of there's a number of projects that all have issued tokens that are in the Solana ecosystem today that are, in my view, dramatically undervalued, assuming we start to see millions of new users using applications on Solana. So some of these out there today are like Mango Markets, Jet Protocol, Tulip. There's a number of Neon. There's a number of other projects that have released tokens or will be releasing tokens that I'm by the way, full disclosure, these are all things that I hold in my own personal trading account. But the point that I'm making is that like I have an appetite for risk for those types of projects because I actually believe that they have the potential to be incredibly valuable for the Solana ecosystem. But I'm also a huge fan of Terra, so I own a bunch of Luna. I think the Terra ecosystem is probably one of the sleeper ecosystems that some people know about it, but I don't think people understand how big and important the Terra ecosystem will actually be. So I'm a big fan of Luna as well.
And do you think it has much bigger potential for more returns since it already grew a lot?
Luna?
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
And I heard about Mango Markets actually already today from many investors and people in the ecosystem.
Yeah, basically Mango Markets is if you've ever traded on FTX, it's the best trading experience for trading crypto. Hands down, it's the best exchange out there. Now imagine that experience on a decentralized exchange. That's effectively what Mango Markets is. It's such a well done, well executed, beautiful user experience for trading on decentralized exchanges. Because I don't know how long you guys have been in the space, but if you were ever trading on Ether Delta in 2016, it's really painful to trade at a DEX back then. And here we are 5 years later, and you have what is almost the equivalent of trading on a centralized exchange like FTX, and that's Mango Markets. It's one of the reasons why I think it's so dramatically undervalued.
Yeah, I should try it out. Yeah, so how far do you see Bitcoin may go up?
So, I try not to make price predictions, but I do own a lot of Bitcoin, and I do think that the current monetary and fiscal policies that are in place today benefit Bitcoin going much higher. Could it go to 500,000? Sure. Could it take a year? Yes. Could it take 12 years? Yes. Who knows? What I will say is that the current bull market that we're in right now, when the top comes in, call it like 100K or something along those lines, I don't think we're going to have the same type of dramatic crashes that we've had in the past. And the reason is that in say 2017, 2018, during that time frame, when the market crashed, 80%, 70%, whatever it was at the time, we didn't have the market structure in place that we have today, and we had mostly retail traders. Now we have massive institutions invested in Bitcoin. You have the ability to write options, you can short, all of these other ways of hedging your actual Bitcoin exposure. So in that scenario, I find it very difficult to see Bitcoin or crypto in general drawing down 80-90% when you actually have market structure in place to hedge the volatility of the overall market.
And in which stage of this bull market are we?
I say we're in the 8th inning of a 9th inning baseball game. So we're very close to the end.
And when do you think it may end? This year, next year?
Next year.
Q1, Q2?
So again, I can't predict the future, but I am positioning myself for sometime in Q1 to have some sort of correction. Again, I could be totally wrong, but that's how I'm positioning my portfolio. I think we're going to have a pretty serious run up here in the fourth quarter of 2021, depending on what happens with tax loss selling and potentially regulatory, overhang, and depending on how exuberant the market actually gets. It's probably a healthy correction is coming at some point next year. Could it be Q1? Could it not happen at all? Sure, but that's how I'm positioning my portfolio.
Okay, let's see where market will go. Thank you for such interesting conversation.
You're welcome. Thank you.